Right. Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7:00 on Wednesday. That's time for Sci-Fi Distilled, and we have a large group today.
I love a large
sort of
group.
We are -1. Bruce Playfair was going to join us, but he is under the weather, so we hope Bruce gets better soon. So we welcome back, of course, Mary Beth, Fez, Kent, and Dave. How are you all? Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
I think Bruce should have come here and then just sat silently.
That would have killed him.
It's impossible.
That would have killed him.
I'm
sure he's watching. I'm sure he's watching. So,
are you out there, Bruce? Feel better.
So today we are kind of doing, because of all the turmoil between Paramount and CBS being sold and shows being canceled, I thought it would be good to kind of have our gathering of nerds to discuss what we feel is the state of the franchise and what they've been doing, what we think they should be doing, and predictions and whatnot. So, but before we get into that, we do have news. So
we do have news. And because we are so excited to get to our conversation tonight, I'm going to fly through the news and we're not going to comment on it the way we usually do.
Wrong person.
So, piece of news number 1, Mike and Denise Okuda posted today that For All Mankind gets a 5th season. Woohoo. I personally am really psyched. I really enjoy that show.
News.
Looking forward to that. Heroes. Do you guys remember that show, Heroes? It's where I first met Zachary Quinto. Heroes is getting a reboot. Variety has confirmed that creator Tim Kring is has got the green light to do Heroes Eclipsed. Nothing else is known about it. I'll have more on that as it develops.
George Takei was in that for a while, right?
Oh my.
Oh my. Do you guys remember the horrific shooting on the set of the movie Rust involving Alec Baldwin and the DP or the cinematographer?
Yeah.
Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was the armorer on that show, has been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, sentenced to 18 months in prison. David Halls, who is the first AD, he conducted the safety check on the revolver prior to the shooting. He was charged with negligent use of a deadly weapon, pleaded no contest. He got 6 months probation. And Alec Baldwin, who is also a producer on the film, has been indicted by a grand jury on involuntary manslaughter, and he pled guilty and not guilty, and his trial is set to start in July. So all that is still unfolding. What a weird situation.
Yeah, if you watch, you can look on YouTube, you can see the judge when the sentencing and why she gave her 18 months.
Oh, really?
They gave her the max.
Basically, they gave her the max because basically, in a nutshell, she felt that she wasn't remorseful at all. Like she was more worried about her career moving forward than the death of this woman. So,
really? I should have watched that.
At least you watch it. It's on YouTube. It's like 4 minutes, so it's not like a lot of your time.
Let's move on so we can get to our conversation. Steve Buscemi, who I adore, is set to replace someone on the Addams Family spinoff show Wednesday for season 2. We aren't sure who yet. We don't think it's Wednesday herself. Fans are speculating it might be Gwendolyn Christie character because she
want to see that,
and she died. You want to see him play Wednesday?
I want to see Steve Buscemi play Wednesday.
No release date has been given for Wednesday season 2 just yet. And finally tonight, I do have Paramount update, and it's kind of, I think, important because of what we're going to be talking about tonight. Roll with me on this one. Here we go. You ready? You remember last week I reported that Apollo made a $28 billion offer, and Shari Redstone was like, I'm not feeling that. Well, Skydance has made their offer. It's not for money. It's for stock options, shares. And Shari was kind of like, yeah, boy. Well, it got fractious from there. Paramount Global Investors, investment fund firms, hedge funds like Barrington Capital, and are just some of many financial institutions to urge Paramount Global to scrap that idea. That's a bad idea. It argues the shareholders will benefit more if the company looked at other potential bidders. Investors are saying it's suboptimal, it's detrimental. Investors have accused the company, or specifically Shari, of breaching fiduciary responsibility, and they're urging the board to end exclusive talks with Skydance and engage in competitive bidding. So what's the board doing? Well, 4 members have stepped down. 3 of them were on the committee to evaluate potential merger deals, and the 4th is Redstone's longtime attorney. Why? What's going on? Is it a conflict of interest? No. Are they recusing themselves? No. Are they protesting? Maybe a little bit. It's more of a cover your butt thing.
Well, they're starting.
I think it's clearly a mess.
It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. If they get if someone gets sued for failure to do what's best for the company, board members can be held personally responsible. So I think they're like, ooh, we're out. It's a hot mess all around. And what does it mean for Star Trek? We don't know
It seems
yet.
to just fit this company of late. I don't know. There always seems to be something going on with Paramount.
Well, we like hot messes.
We like hot messes.
We do?
So.
Do we like hot messes?
I don't know. I don't know if we like it, but we're getting
we
used to it.
we like the drama.
All
You're
right.
like,
Is that
Sorry.
that
That's it for the. Sorry.
okay? No, I'm saying is that I just want to make sure we're wrapped up because we do
that's
have
it.
a lot.
That's it for the news, and we do not have a drink tonight. So.
No, I forgot to do it. I got busy at work. I actually have a life, believe it or not. But you guys pick whatever you like.
Romulan
There
ale.
you go.
Whatever your drink of choice is tonight. Hey, I want to do some shout outs though. I like CC Bills here and Chris LaRoche. How you doing, Sarge? Doc Alexander, Jeff, and Martin, thanks for joining us. And Sue, I see you're just jumping in there. So thanks, guys, for joining us. So obviously, with the recent cancellations, we had really kind of started with Prodigy, even though I know it went to Netflix, but I think Netflix is just going to run that second season, and that I don't think they have plans to make any more beyond that. And then, of course, Discovery is at its last season, and now they just announced Lower Decks is only getting the last season, and that's it. So the question is, why all the cancellations? Are these shows just not popular? Are they some other reason? I don't know. We'll go around, try to keep, we got a lot to get through. We want everybody to have their say. So try to be as concise as we can. I'm going to start with Fez just because for no reason in
Let's
particular.
go in order of age.
Go with youngest first. There you go.
Yeah.
So in the case of Discovery, it's the most expensive show to produce, and we're talking about fiduciary responsibilities. So that, and probably they lost any ideas, and they didn't want a captain to be crying every other show. Prodigy, kid show, and nobody, for the most part, watched it. And at least in my opinion, Lower Decks, probably the best out of all the bunch of Star Trek shows that we've gotten. And maybe it's kind of like Community, and we were talking about this off stage, that 6 seasons in a movie for Community. I'm thinking maybe, hopefully, there's something bigger for Lower Decks coming out.
Okay. Dave?
All right. Well, the way I look at this is that we have been living through a golden age of Star Trek availability. We've had Trek heaped upon us, as opposed to the wilderness that we walked through years ago when maybe a movie came out, even when the animated series came out, I was like, wow, So there's an ebb and flow in that. There's also just whether it's making money. There's so much out there, and the media landscape is changing. Maybe it's time to take a step back. So I'm not really worried about it. The other thing is that what brought us all to Trek, I'm going to make a supposition here, is that you had a show with great action and great ideas. And those ideas were poking at the tension points in society at that moment. So when we look back at the original series, we're like, yeah, we know all that, But at the time, some of that stuff was really uncomfortable. And then, Next Gen tried to get a little uncomfortable at the moment. We look back at that. It's, years later, and we're like, yeah. Well, for example, when they first introduced the Trill and Dr. Crusher. And there you had, a relationship.
I remember.
It was like, can love cross genders? And today you look at it and you say, well, that's pretty mild. Well, Discovery tried to poke at some of the stuff in our society today, and it bothered people, here and there, but it's doing its job as Trek. So, given a little bit of time, you let everybody digest that, and maybe a number of years down the road, we have another series that pokes a little more. So that's why I'm not particularly concerned by all this.
Okay. Kent?
I think, Dave, that's a great point. The studio has always had to walk a fine line between social commentary and poking those buttons and angry letters to the stations demanding that certain episodes not be shown, et cetera, et cetera. One of them drives the artistic side of it, if you will, the social commentary. The other one drives the bottom line. If enough people say, I'm not watching this, it's crap, or how dare you show a white man kiss a black woman on television, that stirs some of us, but annoys enough others that viewership goes down. And I think first and foremost, CBS and Paramount are in it to make money. They don't care
Absolutely.
about the social aspects of it. We do because we all love it. I mean, 12-year-old me, guy who's black on one side and white on the other, it's like, how do you not see that that's, the civil rights movement hang in one 1-hour episode, and how futile racism is, right? So those kind of things appeal to people, those of us who are conscious of it, and the other people are there to see Spaceship Fight of the Week and 7 of 9 in a skimpy silver outfit. That's that viewership. If you annoy them, if Joe Sixpack doesn't like your show, there goes your numbers. And the water has become so muddied. The Nielsen's don't really exist anymore. You had 3 stations. They showed their things every Thursday night, and you got numbers the next morning, how many people were watching. Those little set-top boxes. They would tell the studios, 64 million people watched this show last night. It's a hit. They ain't but 180 million people in America at the time. And if a third of them are watching your show, guess what? We got a winner. That is gone now with streaming and binging and 87 different subscription services and no real set broadcast times anymore. Those metrics don't have the impact that they used to have. They can claim 1 million people watched the last episode of Discovery, but they don't know. Not the way that they knew back when the numbers were driving the bottom line.
Well, there's a lot of analytics, though, Kent. Not to
They
interrupt.
might know on a streaming
They have
service.
tons of analytics on the streaming service. They know.
Yeah,
what
but
people
I don't
watch.
use a streaming service. I use a gray market.
Well,
right? I'm the biggest Trek fan there is, but I will not pay Paramount for a whole streaming service just to get 1 or 2 shows that I want.
Officially here on Sci-Fi Distilled, we do not support pirating of IP material.
I absolutely understand that.
Unofficially, Canuckavision.
So, Mary Beth, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of right along the same lines as Kent. The dollar, the almighty dollar, is king. A while back, Rizzo, you on this show.
Wait! Everybody, stop! Did you just agree with me?
Yeah, I might have just agreed.
Shocking.
This is being recorded, right, Rizzo? We got this.
Back, Rizzo, you and I talked about how Marvel is doing a bit of a revamp. They canceled a bunch of proposed things, and they're just kind of, restyling themselves because they realized people had burnout. I'm wondering if Paramount is doing the same thing. I'm going to throw an extra piece of information in for you guys to contemplate. Paramount has just ended Showtime. I think there's still Showtime channel, but if you had the Showtime, the app, if you subscribe to the Showtime app, you probably already have gotten, or maybe you're about to get, a notification saying it will no longer work after April 30th. As of May 1st, you must find all your Showtime content on Paramount Plus. So given that fractious sale I just talked about, I think they're shoring up that streaming service because I don't think they had viewers. I don't think they had the numbers those analytics that you just talked about, Mike. And I think I actually believe that a good portion of Paramount Plus subscribers are there for Star Trek. And so I think they're seeing back
Yes.
numbers and they're going,
Probably, that's probably a good point.
on the other hand, they're standing some other stuff up. They're standing 2 other shows up. So we'll talk about those.
So
Rizzo, what do you think?
So my thoughts is, I think everybody has very valid points. I agree, though, it's always money driven. That's always going to be the bottom line, regardless of messages. I think with Discovery, I think they overcorrected with the social message. I think they went to a point where they went to cater to a very specific genre of viewer, and I think it alienated a lot of. And I just don't feel that, regardless of the social message, the overall storylines just weren't very Trek to me. That's my personal feeling. And I just don't think they handled a lot of their situations well. I mean, we always talk about the crying. And again, that's kind of not what Starfleet really is. It's fine for people to express their feelings and stuff, but it was always seemed to be in the wrong time at the wrong place with me, as far as that show goes. And it seemed to get worse with each season. The first 2 seasons weren't too bad, but then, and again, I think you're right with Prodigy, regardless of whether you like it or hate it. It was aimed at children. I don't think kids picked it up, maybe because it was behind the paywall. It just, whatever reason, it didn't resonate. And I think it was just, they were just saying nobody was watching it, or not enough people were watching it. And now with Lower Decks, I'm a little confused, because there are very few people have negative to say about it. If they don't like it, they just don't like it. But everybody that likes it loves it.
Really likes it.
And
so it's among the less expensive things.
Yeah, I can't see that it's an expense thing for them. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Lower Decks on that one. But I think overall, I think what they've done, I think, which is kind of, maybe I'm just old school. I'm an old man now. It's that putting things behind a paywall. Star Trek thrived. Where did it thrive the best? In syndication, where it got all kinds of you could watch it on a whole bunch of different stations. We're running it at different times. You know what I'm saying? So I think, and we saw that problem when they went to the Paramount Network, which
UPN.
with the and not everybody was picking up. Satellite, like DirecTV, didn't pick it up. So not everybody was airing it. So that's probably what killed Enterprise. It wasn't because it was a bad show, because it wasn't. It was just that it was put sort of in this very specific thing, and they tried to make it their flagship show. But if nobody could watch it or access it, it's not going to get any ratings. It's not going to make any money. So
look at fifth season of Babylon 5. You had to really want to watch that.
And look what happened to their viewership.
Yeah. So I think there's a combination. I think the paywall thing, and you remember how when Discovery, they first announced, because remember, we did have, what was it? When did Enterprise end? In 2005, I think, was there something? Was the last season somewhere in there? Because they started in 2001, right? And they went to 2004, I think. So whatever it was. And then we didn't have anything till what? 2017 or 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a big gap. Again, we had that big gap where we just had JJ Trek movies.
That doesn't count.
Which didn't help, right? It didn't help.
JJ Abrams made
JJ. So we were kind of very hungry for new Star Trek television. We were all very excited. Remember when Discovery, there's going to be this show, and then it was kind of like, and then all of a sudden we found out that they retconned the Klingons with weird heads, and all these changes were made. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can get past that. But, I think there was too many things that they changed and rearranged, and why they went with a prequel type show instead of just making this thing 900 years in the future in the first place, where, we didn't have to worry about canon so much. I think all those factors is what
it took them 3 seasons to figure out what the burn was going to be.
No, that was we didn't find out about the first season. Yeah, that was that's the thing. I think the writing was also, in my opinion, was fairly weak. Okay,
I think they kind of stopped being the writers.
Those are all the things I think we could condemn the cancellation. I think everybody has a valid point of what it was. What we don't know, if we're not sitting in those production meetings, or rather whatever meetings whoever decides what shows get canceled, what shows get kept, we will never know what the real reasoning was. But I think all of these reasons are probably a factor to it. Let me add one last thing. The Paramount Plus app is a piece of crap.
Oh yeah, it always
It's an
makes
absolute
weird.
piece of junk that constantly crashes and acts weird and
It's forever
sluggish. And
optimizing.
I remember when we watched. I was trying to watch Discovery for the. Well, no, we were up in Thai, but I remember I was trying to watch it like right when it released, and they couldn't handle the bandwidth or something. Like they couldn't handle the amount of people trying to.
Oh
watch.
yeah, that's right.
Like,
It was a thing because it was dropping at midnight, and people were staying up to midnight to watch it.
And yeah, it was terrible. Okay, so moving on with questions. So with we've all kind of discussed what they think they did wrong, I guess, or why these things. What do you think they've gotten right so far as new Trek? I'm talking about anything from Discovery moving forward. What we'll do reverse order. So I'll start with Mary Beth. What do you think Star Trek has gotten right in the last 5 years, 6 years?
Lower Decks. I mean, Lower Decks. They got that right. We all liked that. Disco was divisive. We didn't
what is
love
it
it.
you think that why is it so popular though?
Because it hits those nostalgia buttons every single episode. It hits. You've heard me say on this show dozens of times. I'll say it 12 Baker's dozen now. You have to know Trek. You have to know Star Trek inside out and backwards to catch all the Easter eggs in that show, because they'll just draw little things in the background. They won't even mention it. It just passes by real quick, and you just, well, you have to catch it, and you have to know Trek to catch all that stuff.
Oh, and yeah, you can't be a caretaker Jellicoe type,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I always say, well, I'll be watching it and I'm laughing, and Liz is sitting there just so I don't get it. I'm like, it's not made for you.
It's not for you. And you know why? Because most of their references, because they've set the Cerritos in that timeline, most of their references are next gen and original series, which is us, our demographic. We love it. Sorry, Fez, we're a bit older than you. Although you're a next gen guy.
Fez is a next gen kid.
It is hitting. It's talking directly to us. It's hitting directly at us. Disco does not hit at me. Strange New Worlds, I'm trying real hard. I'm really trying hard.
I think Strange New World is starting to suffer the same problem, in my opinion, as Discovery, where it's not feeling like Star Trek. It's not feeling like that.
Well, when you have
Enterprise that we know and love, it's starting to feel like a community, like it's some kind of a group discussion on what we're going to do to solve the current problem.
Yeah.
Not a command structure.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, I think so. Reverses Kent would be next.
Yep. I think Discovery et al., the visual effects are head, shoulders above anything we've seen before. Next Gen was okay. TOS was rough, but we look at TOS with the eyes of what we have now, right? But Discovery and Strange New Worlds are visually stunning now. There's nothing they can't do visually, as opposed to they could only afford so many models. They could only afford so much SFX time with the models and the contractors that shot the Enterprise D, for example. So you get reused shots a lot. They don't need to do that stuff anymore. They can original everything, and I think it shows. Both Discovery and Strange New Worlds are visually head and shoulders above anything that's gone before, even the movies to an extent. And I think that comes across well. I agree with Mary Beth. Lower Decks is the best thing since Next Gen, in my opinion. But I'm an old school TOS TNG guy, and it's aimed at me, like she said. I'll sit and watch one, and I'll start gasping and pointing at all the Easter eggs, and the rest of the people in the room are like, yeah, that joke was okay. It's like, oh, no, it's not the joke. It's that, and that I just noticed. There's a Mugatu in the back in the zoo, or whatever. And that, I think that's a home run. And its cost of production is lower than the other episodes.
Which is why boggles my mind that it's canceled.
Why would they mess with it? I don't get it. It's a money printing machine, and they're turning it off. And that's, I don't know. I mean,
All right.
I never would have run out and bought a Moopsie pen had it not been for Lower Decks.
You have a
But
pen?
it's
You
a
have a pen?
you have a whole
Look at the
Moopsie
Moopsie.
there.
A pin.
It's a pin, a thing that goes on your shirt.
Pin.
Oh, a
Um,
pin.
A pin, yes. Do you have yours handy, Rizzo? Mine's attached to my backpack. I can't.
On my backpack.
Oh yeah, that's where mine is.
Yes.
It says, "I am Moopsie Destroyer. I have become Moopsie Destroyer of
Destroyer of
Worlds."
Worlds. Yes. So,
So that's my take on it.
Dave.
Okay. Now,
What are
first
you
of
right?
all, you're all wrong. Second,
All right, we'll just
No,
go
no.
to Dave. See you, Dave. Have a nice day.
All right, Dave, tell us. I'm listening.
no, you nailed it with Lower Decks, Marybeth. It is hitting that nostalgia button. It is magnificent. It pays off on knowledge of the details, which kind of drives us as a geek community. So that is absolutely spot on. I don't know why they canceled it, but I will just observe that Futurama was canceled, then brought back, then canceled, then brought
Family
back.
Guy.
And,
Same thing.
Family
so
Guy, yeah,
Excellent
same way.
point.
so I don't worry about that. They're looking at some numbers that maybe we're not seeing, and maybe they think that it needs a break, needs a rest, but they can come back to it. Cell animation is not going to age. Boimler is going to be the same age that Homer Simpson is.
True. Good point. Good point.
Bart Simpson, I should say, even. So Lower Decks, it's going to be there again, I think. I love Strange New World. Strange New World. So let me just back up and say that I mentioned Babylon 5 earlier. That was magnificent for taking us from episodic TV into arc-driven stories.
Yep, that's what it's famous for.
Now, everything is an arc-driven story. And it's time to let the pendulum swing back. Strange New Worlds is refreshing because they have a little bit of arc, but it's episodic. I can plop down in front of any of the episodes and watch it and enjoy it. And it takes me back to the feeling I had watching the original series. They're not afraid to be goofy. They're not afraid to, have fun. They're not afraid to do some heavy stuff. They're just looking at each thing as an episode. And I love it. I will say about the JJ Trek, the first movie gave me that same feeling. It's like, yes, this is why we used to play Star Trek when I was growing up. This is why we used to run around and, pretend boxes or trees were our spaceships and, all that sort of stuff. That gave me that same sense of fun. So I thoroughly think that they nailed Strange New World. Discovery took me a long time to get into. When it first aired, I watched a few episodes, didn't grab me. I got Paramount, recently and sat down and watched the whole thing up through what I haven't seen any of the ones that have just dropped, but I watched it all in one go, and it took a little bit, but I really kind of got the vibe they were trying to go for, and I appreciate it. I think they did some good stuff in there, trying to define what it is to be Starfleet. What does Starfleet stand for in the world, or in the universe, I guess?
A lot of crime.
And you poke fun at various aspects here and there, and that's fine. There's a lot of stuff to poke fun at in any of these shows. But I think they were making an honest effort to really define what Star Trek or what Starfleet is.
Okay.
And so Tilly is Starfleet. you know, when they go in the future, and she's the one who gives them some hope.
All right. Just we got to be on time. So so Fez, what is your thing? What are they getting right, in your opinion? If anything, you can say.
I
no,
mean,
you can hate it all, burn it all.
yeah, let's burn it all. What I really like about what this recent crop of Star Trek has is Mike McMahon and Terry Matalas. So Lower Decks and Picard season 3. Those are the things that I love, and I love the fact that once we clamored for Pike and Strange New Worlds, they listened to us for that, because we all asked for it after we saw Pike in season 2 of Discovery and the Enterprise and that particular portion of the timeline. But you know, the one thing that I keep coming back to is something that I don't like about current TV in general, is that if we're going to have these short 10 episode seasons, 50%, like 25% of it cannot be filler. I know, right?
Exactly.
But that's my biggest gripe. And why have you not greenlit Star Trek Legacy? Because I think that's another thing that I think we all are looking forward to, especially with Matalas at the helm.
Mary Beth?
Did I already answer? I'm
Oh,
Lower
you already
Decks.
went. It was me. So yes, I agree. Here's what I think. Clearly, Lower Decks they got right. And you're right. It's the nostalgic aspect of it. It is funny. There's some laugh out loud moments for sure on that show. But I think inherently, any fan of any IP, when they see something that they recognize from something else, it's that, you know, it's that meme from
That
from the
meme,
movie
the
where he's
pointing meme,
pointing at the screen. Yes, there it is. I mean, yeah, Fallout right now. You've heard talk about it a lot. Fallout's on Prime rather right now. It's a video game with a lot of history, and I think they've done a brilliant job of adding all those little things. Oh yeah, there's the sugar bombs. That's, you know, the little bears. I even pointed out, like, the bears are everywhere in the game, and they got those stupid teddy bears right. Why they're there, I don't know, but they're there, and they actually recreated them. So those little things are what we trigger on and what makes us happy when we see something that made us happy from years ago. So I think that's a great point. And I also think they did get finally Picard season 3 right. The story was okay, but we didn't really care because we were seeing the gang, the team was, the band was back together. That's what we also, old farts, wanted. We wanted to see the band back on the bridge of the old ship, and doing their thing. And I think I hope they see the success of that. And, you know, so you say Legacy would probably be a good show as long as they don't muck it up like they kind of did with Strange New Worlds, in the sense that when we talk about the Discovery season 2, when we see Pike and the Enterprise, or was it? Yeah, it was 2, right?
Yeah.
That was one.
Yeah.
You know, and we're all like, oh, this is great. And then when we actually get to see them, they kind of watered it down a little bit. Pike doesn't seem as commanding as he was on the Discovery. He seems kind of, at least in my opinion, you know, he's got a Benihana in his cabin. He's just, you know, he's just joked, you know, the command crew is questioning his orders literally while in the middle of a battle kind of thing. Like, you sure you want to do that? Like, it just, I don't know. And like in Mary Beth, I think that the first 2 or 3 episodes, he was just in the background nodding a lot. You know, it wasn't. Yeah. So it just was like, wait, this isn't what we wanted. At least not what I wanted. I can't say. But so I think your point is perfect. What I've always been saying, Fez, with a 10 episode season, you got to hit 10 episodes, 9 at the out. You know what I'm saying? You can't have these fluff ones. Which, you know, might be same for the musical ones.
No,
I know,
minimize the stinkers.
No singing, no fairy tales.
Yeah. So positives, I'm going to say certainly Lower Decks, and they got in season 3 of Picard. Beyond that, I mean, like you said, visually, I agree with Kent. Visually, they've done some amazing things. Really brilliant, of course, with CGI of today. It's almost, there's nothing they can't do.
Right.
It's just amazing. So, with that, I'm going to shift, kind of do the 180, and now we're going to do what they're getting wrong. I will start, since I haven't started yet. Strap in, boys. and girls.
Mike, you think somebody's done something wrong?
Obviously, I've
See,
kind
it's
of already
totally
kind of said it. I think what they do is, I swear that Kurtzman is the devil and he hates Star Trek and he just wants to bring it down. That is just my theory. That I just keep seeing like it's like Lucy on the Peanuts holding the football for Charlie Brown, and every time, come on, kick it. It's gonna be it, and she pulls the ball away. It's like Kurtzman pulls the ball away every time, and we're gonna be a great show, and the ball gets pulled away. They didn't do that with Lower Decks.
Picard
The only
season
one we
3.
got.
Why did he turn Metalis loose?
Yeah, I don't. I think what they did, what I think what they're doing wrong is, I think right from the get go with Discovery was they didn't bring the band back together, and I don't mean actors. I mean the people that created all that great
Drexler,
Star Trek
Okuda.
in the '90s and early 2000s. When I'm talking about the Okudas, I'm talking about Drexler. I'm talking about all those other people that worked and wrote those shows. Because when we were talking last week, some of the best stuff, the stuff like some of the DS9 episodes, the writing on them was brilliant. I mean, just so well written, so brilliant, so compelling. You got sucked into these stories. So and it's like I'm not seeing that with the current crop. I'm seeing a reheat of a lot of old stories. We're retconning the Gorn for some reason. Why? I don't know. Even Picard season 3. I mean, come on. Didn't you, when you found out it was the Borg again, didn't you go, really? Again with the Borg?
Well, it's only logical. It's Picard's story.
I was actually in Picard season 3 when we thought it was the Changelings. I actually got excited about that. I'm like, oh, an old villain that we kind of forgot about from DS9 that always gets kind of, shoved to the side and never gets any reference really. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be good. And then no, it's really just the Borg pulling their string.
Because of Locutus, it had to be the Borg. He's never going to escape Locutus.
But they ripped off BSG because all the starships that are linked together computer-wise can be hacked by the bad guy.
Right.
And the one ship that is still analog
is the one that saves the day.
Is the one that saves the day.
So, but I think their biggest mistakes, I think, are they're not hitting 10 great episodes. Yes, Stranger Worlds had I'd almost say great, not great.
Good episodes.
Great.
The Lower Decks.
The last one of season 1 was really good.
The MASH episode was
MASH episode, which I forget the name. You guys know what we're talking about. Incoming Transport was a good episode,
Yeah.
although a little weird, making M'Benga some kind of super ninja commando guy when he's really a doctor. I don't know where they're coming up with this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense that would be the character you decided to make the super ninja.
Well, they needed a medical aspect of it.
I guess, but
transports.
Yeah, it was stretched. Okay. Anyway, again, this is what I'm saying. I find some of the writing a little weak, and I think they take shortcuts. I even saw like Picard season 3. One of the things I always pick out was when Baby Crusher there is in the jail in the brig, and he just magically pulls out this thing out of his pocket that disables the force field that he escapes.
Yeah, nobody check his pockets?
Nobody checked him. Nobody has established that this technology even exists.
I mean, yes, there is. First season, Next Generation, Heart of Glory, the 2 Klingons in the brig, they undo the force field.
Yeah, and Picard did something with a comm badge or something once where he had to edge it into the force field. He pushed it, and then it zapped the force field or something.
Descent Part 2.
I'm just saying it was to me, it was a little lazy just to get him out of the brig. That was just kind of it was like he pulled out. It was very Doctor Who. Here's my sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, here's my sonic screwdriver. Yeah,
does everything. Anyway, so
no, that's Jordy's visor.
I think their biggest mistake was taking it out of syndication all those years ago. I think that was their first step into the darkness, so to speak. We know that Star Trek, even TOS, thrives in syndication.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see let's change it up. Dave, I'll let you go next. What do you have?
All right. What am I arguing that what they did wrong? What have they
gotten wrong now?
I don't like to focus on what they got wrong, but
it's very positive.
I am.
What are you,
because
Canadian?
I know the amount of effort that it takes to
Okay,
make
we'll move
something
on.
happen.
Ken, Dave has
Um,
nothing.
Yeah. No, don't take my time.
I yield back
But-
to the distinguished gentleman from the Old Man Simulator.
Well, one thing that I do find a bit tedious is just the constant let's make new crazy sort of ship tech. The one thing that I appreciated over the earlier series was they tried to keep a more regular progression. Discovery, all up, all bets are off. They can do things with spores and this and that and spin the ship and so that stuff leaves me cold. Um, but like I said, I appreciate the stories. I don't appreciate the let's go run after a MacGuffin type of stuff that they do a lot of.
Collect the plot coupons, and then we win.
Yeah. Redeem for
One
redeem for a
universal
satisfactory ending. Yeah. But that's script writing. Not all your scripts are going to be winners. I I agree with you guys. I would love longer seasons. I I'm not a
Yeah,
big fan of this 10 and done stuff because it doesn't really give you much of a chance to
It's the new
get
normal,
in and develop these characters. So
okay, fair points. Ken,
I'm gonna springboard off of what Dave said. Uneven writing, and that kind of provokes a bunch of the other issues. You haven't, with only 10 episodes, you haven't earned the right to do a character centric episode if you're going to have a huge ensemble cast, because with only 10 episodes, that means every episode has to be a character piece, and that's not how Trek works. You've got to tackle bigger ideas. But having said that, trying to be experimental can pay off or not. And I think Discovery has not paid off. Strange New Worlds is trying real hard. The musical episode, the fairy tale one, things like that. They're trying stuff that hasn't been done in Trek before, and that's laudable. But you can't blow up your nest egg trying to make an omelet for everyone. I guess is the way to. With only 10 episodes, you cannot be that experimental without paying off on every other episode, like Rizzo has said a number of times.
and I would just say in that, Kent, you shouldn't be doing it in season 1 or even season 2. Those are
Right.
season 4 and 5 episodes.
Exactly, or 7 and 8
Yeah.
to go back to TNG. They didn't do character pieces until 7 and 8, really. 6, yeah. Fez, you can follow me up on that. Uneven writing is definitely the bane of all these series. Picard season 1 was very uneven. Picard season 2 was
A dumpster fire.
yes. Picard season 3 was clawing it back and getting us back to where we need to be. But even there was some uneven episodes. And with only 10, you can't have uneven episodes. You gotta hit every one of them, or 9 out of 10, the way Rizzo said. So that would be my one thing they've gotten wrong is consistent good writing. If you have a good writer's room, those things take care of themselves. If you have an uneven writer's room, that's not the time to try to experiment on things.
Okay, Mary Beth.
Yeah, Rizzo, that is a great question. I'm really trying to put my finger on what exactly it is about, particularly disco, because I can roll with Strange New Worlds. It's not perfect, but I can roll it. I'm trying to put my finger on what it is about disco and JJ Trek that to me makes it not Star Trek. And I can't put exactly, it's just not quite cohesive.
I know exactly
They're
what
not
it is.
like a
JJ has never gotten Kirk Spock.
JJ.
Right.
Well, JJ opened. Do you remember the interview with Jon Stewart? And he was like, "Oh, I never liked Star Trek." And John was literally like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he
Tuned
wanted
out.
to say something else, and John was like, "Oh, I stopped listening to you after you said I never liked Star Trek."
Right. The JJ movies have never gotten Kirk, Spock, McCoy right.
No, they never did. No, they never did.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's character. It's character driven and character development at its core. Deep Space Nine was Cisco. It was a
Yes.
character. Next Gen was slightly weaker than Deep Space Nine, but still character driven. Kirk, Spock, McCoy, character driven, and they're kind of missing that. I think Lower Decks had good characters.
They want a show for Michael Burnham, but none of us do.
I don't know. I can't quite put my finger. I'm going to say character, but I can't quite.
Well, let's
my finger
go
in.
back to Next Gen for a second here. Season 1 and 2 were idea based, and then at third season
yeah,
they
and
started
then
getting more character
Killer.
based.
They hit it
Yeah,
strong.
we know that. Yeah, they always take a while to ramp up, but they had 25, 26 episodes per season to figure it out.
Yeah, they had plenty of
These
time
guys
to
don't have
develop.
But the focus changed after the first 2 seasons.
Yes, that's true for Next Gen.
Ideas to characters.
When Riker got the beard.
Enterprise was reasonably character driven. I mean, Archer, just before you toss it to Fez, I want to say, I don't know if you guys have been checking the chat, but the chat's been on fire, and these guys have been making some great
Yeah,
points.
I have
in the
been
chat
reading it.
today.
I've been reading it, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry guys, we haven't been able to address it, but we're reading you. We are reading you. Go ahead and toss it to Fez.
So I know exactly what it is. Star Trek Discovery specifically is woke for wokeness sake, and that's a big part of it. So when we think about Next Gen or the original series or even Deep Space Nine, and I guess kind of Voyager, when we're talking about the big issues, and we'll go back to Dave, we're poking at the issue, we're not making a big show of it. We're pointing it out. Here it is. You make of it what you want, instead of pushing whatever agenda or whatever idea that they want us to believe or think. That's what I think the biggest issue is. And Rizzo, Kurtzman is only partially the devil. Not the whole, not the only devil, just part of it.
Fez, you might be right. There's easier ways to make things woke, not do it woke just for woke's sake. And Rizzo, that brings us right back to our favorite Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and you always kind of have to be careful because people take this the wrong way. But you're right. I think what they've done is it's a little too much. You're going over. That's why I said when I said they overcorrected, they went full blown.
Yeah, they brought it on.
And there's nothing against that. And like I said, the genre of people that enjoy it tend to get it, but it's not Star Trek. And I think we brought this up before. Other franchises have brought in those social issues, but they're subtle. They don't drive the whole story. They're just part of the story, part of the characters. I think we brought The Expanse had a lot of that just in there, that it just became natural and part of the universe. It wasn't, oh, look at this, we have this ghost who's transgender, who's whatever that person was supposed to be. I don't really know. It was like a force apparition or something. But you're right. I think to some degree you're right. Were you done, Fez, or did you have more to say? Anyway.
Everything else everybody's already commented on. So okay,
that's okay. That's okay. All right, we're moving on. We got more topics. So this is kind of the next thing that we're getting. We're going to go through this quickly. Should CBS, Paramount, put a pause on Star Trek? In other words, saying maybe we need to reset, give it a 5-year break, come back with new stuff from the get-go, kind of like they did, not as long. But what do you think? Do you think it needs a reset or just fix what they got? Mary Beth, start with you.
Yes, it needs a reset. We do need to take a break. They are standing up Section 31. They're filming. They're filming Section 31 now. And they just got the green light. They just gave JJ a green light for an origin story. So remember when we did the Marvel story and I talked about superhero fatigue? Okay, I got origin. I got Star Trek origin.
Origin in the sense of what? Kirk's again is
It's got to be. It has to be. That's the only thing that JJ seems to deal with is.
Is he going
Okay.
to steal the
It's
Corvette
gonna
and drive
be-
it off a cliff again?
Yeah, it's going to be Greg Grunberg. I guess. I don't know. I'm going to look it up. I got the story in my news.
So you're saying you are saying pause everything for a
Yes.
certain amount of time and then reboot it.
Except Lower Decks.
Here's the news article I didn't read to you earlier. JJ Trek will not die. Earlier this year, it was reported that Paramount Pictures was developing a new Star Trek feature film. Today, the studio made it official as they announced their slate for 2025 and 2026, which included what they're calling Untitled Star Trek Origin Story. I don't want it. I don't need it. Is it going to be Spock?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like
I don't wanna do it.
another shot in the dark.
I
don't
have
know.
fatigue. I now have
agree.
Trek fatigue, and that's saying something. Go on to somebody else.
Okay, Dave. Yes or no? Pause. Keep going where they're going.
I would say pause, because the very fact that you guys are talking about disco being woke for woke's sake and such tells me that it's poking at stuff that's making you uncomfortable, that you don't like. And the
But we
only
like it in other shows.
solution for that is some time. Give it some time, let all that settle in, let society process all these things. You can't. Star Trek tends to be a message show, and you can't have nonstop fresh messages. You say what you say, you get off the stage. Except for Lower Decks. Lower Decks should go on forever.
Kent, pause.
I'm going to say real quick, pause everything but Lower Decks, because that keeps all of us engaged, and we're a pretty diverse group of people here. We come from a variety of different backgrounds. We all appreciate Lower Decks for what it is, which is a love letter to the fans. Keep going with that, because it is, again, A, cheap and easy to produce, and B, you can go on indefinitely. Those characters don't have to ever age. If they get promoted, get them busted in the next episode so they're back to being an ensign or a lieutenant, JG or something. I'm going to take a little different tack from what Dave just said, though. Yes, their woke for woke's sake is the wrong way to term it. I don't think that those topics make us uncomfortable. I think that the way they're showing them is too overbearing, right? They didn't come out and say, "Look, we have an African American woman as an officer on the bridge." They didn't say that ever. They just put her there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say this is an intersexual, trans being. You don't have to say that. Just show it. Blood and Fire, as many problems as we had with Blood and Fire, and the universal fan response, didn't say, look, Kirk's nephew is in a gay relationship with this guy who's going to be dead by the end of the episode. They didn't have to say that. They just showed it. It was there. It was an accepted fact. Kirk didn't blink. He didn't say, oh, you're marrying a man. That's okay. He didn't say that. He just said, I'll be pleased to officiate at your wedding or whatever. They don't have to beat us over the head with it. We're an aware enough crowd as a whole. Star Trek fans are an aware enough crowd that you don't have to hit us in the forehead with the 1,000,000-pound shit hammer to get the point across. And I'm an old white guy. I am automatically suspect when I say something like that. I get that. I am not the target audience for Discovery. I get that too. But the target audience, the people they're trying to portray and engage, don't need to be told, hey, look, we have a trans person. Just show it and move on. You don't have to center things on it and point to it and draw neon arrows. we're smart enough to get it. I would think. That's my take on it.
Ken, I agree to a certain. I mean, quite a. That's why I was pointing out like other franchises that have worked in those storylines seamlessly.
Yeah.
That it didn't feel like we're spoon feeding you this. It's just part of the story. It's part of the character. And that's it. It's just who they are, and it's not relevant to the story or the universe. You know what I'm saying? It's just this is the way it is, and I don't know if I'm really articulating it very well, but that's what I think some got wrong, and I think Discovery got wrong. Others got right, and they just got it wrong. Anyway,
when the female belter, I can't think of her name in Expanse.
Yeah.
Naomi.
Well, Naomi. Well, and also
when she had a prior gay
Camilla.
Drummer was also
was
or lesbian or whatever.
Man, yeah.
So, but again, you didn't really care. It didn't matter. It was there. She had her relationships.
Right.
But
and they didn't hit us over the head with it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. So who hasn't gone? Fez hasn't gone. Pause or no pause?
Pause everything but Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. And I'll say this. If they fix Strange New Worlds where they don't have the filler episodes and they continue to do, and they go back to character-driven stuff like we get in Lower Decks, I'd be fine with that. It's everything else that I feel like has more of an issue. Because when Strange New Worlds is good, it's good. Oh, and Kent, that's you put my thoughts exactly how I should have put them instead of saying work for work's sake. So thank you for that.
Well, I mean, I use that term too, and it's offensive to some of the people, and it doesn't need to be.
Well, the word has been kind of
used to
it's been kind of weaponized in a sense that it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Absolutely. And I use it not in daily conversations, but I've used the term. I understand the pushback against it. And again, me being who I am and looking the way I do, I'm automatically suspect for having the wrong opinion.
Is it because you wear tie-dye?
No, it's because I'm an old white guy. It's the goatee. It's not a goatee anymore. It's a full-on beard.
Yeah, that's true. You got definitely beardage.
It's a beardage.
Have you gone with you?
Yeah, I did go. I went for.
You're the only one.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to say a semi-pause in the sense that yes, Lower Decks needs to continue, and I think I kind of agree with Fez. I think Strange New Worlds can be fixed. I think if they get away from, if they actually start going to Strange New Worlds, they start acting a little more Starfleet-esque. I think they have a good cast. I think a lot of it is okay. But as long as they stop leaning on TOS so much for material, and I know that seems kind of crazy because it's supposed to be like a prequel that's leading to that, but the joke is the new novel is of Star Trek novel is Captain Kirk, why are you on my ship? Like, why are you here? Because you're not supposed to be here.
Always there.
He's always on the Enterprise. He's not supposed to be on the Potemkin or the whatever the hell.
Yeah, whatever one it was.
He's the next door neighbor who always drops by.
He just keeps coming over for a cup of sugar.
Hi, Julie Day, good neighbor.
So I think we can continue, and I would like to see, if they're going to do Legacy, and I know the actors are all getting aged out, so it's kind of, you can't wait too long, but maybe give it a few years before Legacy and get it right. Get Metalis in there, get some decent writing, bring the Okudas back on board.
Bring the emergency command hologram.
Yeah, clearly, and bring back Captain Shaw, please.
Shaw, the emergency command hologram.
We don't have time, but I wanted to point out two very thoughtful questions. We don't have to answer them in the chat. One was from Bill. He says, a lot of us have been pushing for Star Trek Legacy. How would you feel if you found out they ended Lower Decks to be able to finance Legacy? And the other question, another thoughtful question was from Dennis, and it was, does anyone think that if Disco had stuck to our idea of what Trek should be, would it have succeeded?
I would say do not defund Lower Decks for Legacy.
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
not a
I'm
pie.
not going to be
It's not
before
like
that.
if I
Only
get the-
because their track record has been terrible. So I'm just saying, going quickly through these are my just quick thoughts. Dennis, I do think actually, if it had been a little bit more on track with what Star Trek and Gene's vision of what Star Trek should be, I think it might have done a little better. I think
I
think
agree.
them retconning a lot of stuff right out of the gate was a mistake, even just visually. Klingons didn't look. They tried to correct that, if you notice, because the fans were like, "Who the hell are they?" And that kind of thing. So. Yeah, Dennis is to stop emasculating Pike. Yeah, I agree with that, Dennis. Okay, so we
bet
were
you
going to talk
Philippa
about the
Georgiou-
movie.
When they do
What?
Section 31, I bet you Philippa Georgiou
Well,
never
Section 31 is going
cries.
to be a film now because they can't afford
But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, she
Michelle
won't
there.
cry.
So yeah, they just that's pretty much what they can't afford to have her do a TV show now that she's Academy Award winner. So
Right.
they're going to
But
try.
I'm
They
saying
probably had
she
some
will not-
contract, so they had to,
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
exactly.
She
So
will not cry. I'm predicting it now. I'm on
right,
record
she was
as
a great
saying it.
character. Who did not like either the Captain Phil Giorgio or the Empress Giorgio?
One of the
Or-
strongest
Best
women
best casting,
Yeah, she was a
best
great character.
casting. David Cronenberg.
Yes, I
Yes.
do like David Crumber.
He is good.
Yeah.
And I'm
Now-
looking at his crew too.
I forget his name already, but the first captain, the guy who ended up being
Yeah.
Oh, Laura, yeah,
Lorca.
Jason Isaacs is
Jason
Lorca.
Isaacs.
he was great.
Yeah, he
Yes,
was.
I
Good.
was okay with Lorca too.
Yeah, of course he was a mirror guy. He was bad. And
Oh,
then
we
I
didn't
really
know
like.
that.
I really like.
Well, he was
I really like
Lucius
Rainn Wilson
Malfoy. Of course,
as,
he's bad.
as Mud. I like Rainn Wilson.
Yeah,
as
I
Mud.
liked
Rainn
Rainn
Wilson.
as
Oh, Rainn
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah.
He just
He
owned
owned
that
it.
So
role.
there was some good in the first couple seasons. I just think it went kind of sideways 3, 4, and I haven't watched 5 at all. So
Yeah, 1 and 2 were great.
yeah, I think great.
Well,
is
I'm
probably
watching
a
it now.
strong word.
It's
It was
well
watchable. All right,
I-
guys, we are kind of past the hour, so I didn't want to drag this out. I know people got stuff to do. I wanted to talk about the future of the films. We kind of did a little bit, I guess, what they're planning, which is scary. It frightens me when they say origin stories and stuff.
Maybe it's just me, but I'm
I
burned
don't
out.
know. So we'll just see what comes up with that and go from there. Thank you all for joining us. This was an interesting conversation. Thanks everybody who were watching and commenting. We do read your comments. I know don't think that we're ignoring you. I'm actually reading them as you go. So
By the way, Rizzo, you misspelled hubris.
did I?
Yeah, there's no E in the middle.
Oh well. Thanks for pointing that out to everybody. Now
You're welcome.
you're welcome back. next
I
time.
thought it was part of the joke.
Okay.
I just can't spell. That's just really what that comes down to. So, and I was doing it quickly to get ready for the show. So
Sorry,
I was
Rizzo.
wondering if I had spelt it right.
Well,
Now
let
that
me
we've-
let me
now
just
that we've made
close
a
by
federal
saying
case out of it.
let me just make a closing statement. I really hope that we don't have to see Jim Kirk's Uncle Ben die yet again.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, Spidey.
or a Corvette go off of a cliff, or
All right. Well,
or,
they're never
Batman,
going
Or they
to
bring
Batman
the-
had a
or
number of
they-
reboots
or they
too.
play
Maybe
the
we do need
Beastie
another
Boys.
origin story.
No
I
more
don't know.
Beastie
They're not
Boys.
going to get Hemsworth back.
No-
That's for damn
Yeah, no
sure.
more Beastie Boys in.
Yeah, no more Beastie
Sure.
Boys.
Sabotage.
Not that I have anything against the Beastie Boys, but it just really doesn't belong in Trek.
No.
So, all right, guys. On that note, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what Roy's doing. Do you know what Roy's doing?
Oh, I do. Roy's finally going to do Excalibur because he kept pushing it off and pushing it
Oh,
off.
right. Okay.
Excalibur.
And Fez, you've dropped some new podcasts, and Phil is going to be talking to a concert pianist who's done a new piece called Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue. It's a tribute to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue.
Next one actually is Lower Decks season 1.
Oh, Lower Decks,
There you
Lower
go.
Lower Decks. Lower Decks.
Very good. And Phil, what's Phil doing?
Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh, you did say okay. All right. On that note, I will say good night. As always, live long and prosper, and
Good night,
may the
Moopsie.
force be with you. Good night, folks.